The view of impeachment from a mile high. We'll hear from every Colorado House member to speak on this historic day, and the one who didn't weigh in because she held the gavel. A talk radio host in Denver says he wishes for a nice school shooting to interrupt impeachment coverage. And we dig into the archive to when Colorado's congressional delegation last voted on impeachment. Funny how time, or more likely political parties, has a way of changing minds.
Tell me what you would do.
That is next.
Tonight, America is likely to see a president impeached for only the third time in history. Colorado wasn't even a state the first time around. This time, Coloradans are playing key roles in the impeachment process in the House. It continues from D.C. at this hour. We are going to listen in live to that impeachment vote when it begins, any time now. Democratic Congresswoman Diana DeGette of Denver was selected by Speaker Nancy Pelosi to preside over the House during today's impeachment debate. She gavelled people down when they got chippy and stuff like that. DeGette rarely has made many headlines during her decades in Congress, but she recently turned away a Democratic primary challenge in part by stressing her close ties with party leaders in Washington. Democratic Congressman Joe Neguse of Lafayette is getting a lot of attention for a first-term member. His party has put him out front on the issue of obstruction of Congress.
He undermined the sanctity of the free and fair elections upon which our republic rests. Making matters worse, over the past several months, President Trump and his administration have done everything they can to prevent Congress from uncovering the truth. Let us be clear, in the history of our republic, no president has ever obstructed Congress like this before.
The most prominent Colorado Republican in the impeachment debate today was Ken Buck of Windsor. He essentially argued that everyone does it. At least every president commits abuse of power by the Democrats' standard.
Under the standard, a president can be impeached in the absence of a crime, without due process, and for asserting a legally, constitutionally recognized privilege. History shows Democrat presidents have abused power to undermine democracy and win elections, and yet they have not been impeached. When I asked Professor Turley in a Judiciary Committee hearing if any president could avoid impeachment with this low standard, he said no.
Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Aurora holds the closest thing that Colorado has to a contested congressional seat these days. He won it from an incumbent Republican last time around. But Crow has not been shy about supporting impeachment.
My oath, my love of our country, and my duty to honor the sacrifices who came before us require me to act. To my colleagues, it is time to put aside our personal and political interests and honor those who have come before us.
Republican Congressman Doug Lamborn of Colorado Springs came to the floor during today's debate, suggesting that a president can only be impeached for a crime, which is not true.
Two, Trump is not above the law. No one is, but why don't the Democrats tell us what law he broke? They can't, because he didn't break any. So Democrats have resorted to two vague and subjective articles: abuse of power and obstruction of justice.
We did not hear from the other members of Colorado's congressional delegation on the floor today, Ed Perlmutter and Scott Tipton. Congresswoman DeGette is the only member of our current delegation who was also in Congress for the impeachment of President Bill Clinton in 1998. The delegation at that point was 4 Republicans, 2 Democrats. They split on party lines. That time, of course, it was Republicans in favor of impeachment, Democrats opposed.
We have been told by the majority of constitutional scholars that the president's actions do not fall in the meaning of high crimes or misdemeanors, but yet we persist. We have divided this House with partisan politics, sowing mistrust and exposing the darkness in our own hearts.
Any of you people out there that are going to stand up and vote against this, tell me what you would do in your community. What side you would stand on, what kind of letter you would, report you would give to a newspaper reporter.
The 9 News political experts, Republican Kelly Maher and Democrat James Mejia, both told me today that they thought that Colorado's congressional delegation did a good job in this debate of representing their own particular points of view. Now, when the impeachment moves on to the Senate, as is expected, neither of our political experts see Republican Senator Cory Gardner moving 1 inch away from President Trump. We expect that the process is going to move on to the Senate for a vote on removal. Their Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has promised that Republicans will be fully in lockstep with the White House, will coordinate everything, boom, 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 make this thing go away. Is that a good or a bad strategy if you're Republican Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado?
Well, I mean, look, we'll see that this is probably over by the first quarter of next year. I think that it's going to be very quick, and frankly, because it hasn't changed anybody's mind up until now, I don't think that this necessarily plays into Cory Gardner's overall re-election strategy at all.
Is there any benefit to Cory Gardner to sticking his head up in some small way through a floor speech, a procedural vote, something to tell Coloradans like, hey, I'm not just Trump's guy 100% of the time?
I think that would definitely make him more moderate, but I don't think there's any way he's allowed to do that at this point. Sides have been chosen, and Gardner is in lockstep with the party at this point. Again, this will be a roll call vote. This will not be a time for people to jump up and say, my party's doing the wrong thing, I'm going to go with the other guys on this one. Gardner's in a box.
Kelly and James agree with the head of the political science department at Metro State, who told us that this impeachment debate is not changing minds.
The House will be in order.
I'm a political scientist. I'm always excited to be watching it, and it's been 20 years since we get to watch it. Yeah, I'm Robert Preuss. I'm a professor and chair of the political science department at Metropolitan State University. Oh, we should care because impeachment is the ultimate check that the Constitution provides the House of Representatives. It's the way to remove a president of the United States. The next part is the Senate trial, which is consideration of whether the impeachment articles are valid and whether that merits removal of office for the President of the United States. The impeachment trial itself is going to require establishing rules, mostly rules that will be established from the Republican majority, so there'll be a very different kind of feel of that trial. And then they'll vote, and they need to have a 2/3 majority in order to remove the president. I think the most pronounced element of this entire impeachment process has been that public opinion has not changed a bit. What you're going to see is more and more partisan entrenchment, more and more partisan fighting, and all really focused on November 2020.
Professor Preuss predicts that clips from the impeachment proceedings will be seen in a lot of political ads, but ads aimed at revving up the base. Again, not changing anybody's minds. A conservative talk radio host in Colorado said that he wished for a school shooting to interrupt coverage of President Trump's impeachment. This is Chuck Bonnewell of the Chuck and Julie Show on 710 KNUS.
All right, Chuck Bonnewell, Julie Hayden here a little after 1:30, talking about the never-ending impeachment of Donald Trump. You know, you wish for a nice school shooting to interrupt the monopoly.
Don't even say that. No, don't even say that. Don't call us. Chuck didn't say that.
Which no one would be hurt.
KNUS management declined to comment on Bonnewell's school shooting comment, which was made yesterday. The online version of the show was edited to remove the comment after journalists noticed it this afternoon. Short time ago, John Castillo, whose son Kendrick died protecting his classmates in the STEM Highlands Ranch school shooting, called Bonnewell's comment unbelievable. I want you to look live now at Congress. This is Democratic Congresswoman Diana DeGette of Denver. She is presiding over the impeachment vote in the House tonight. We have heard from some of the key Republicans and key Democrats, including Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and the House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff of California. Let's listen in quickly. They just did a voice vote. Now they're going to ask for a recorded vote.
The ayes and nays on that vote.
The yeas and nays. The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 15-minute vote.
And with that, Diana DeGette bangs the gavel, and so begins the impeachment vote of Donald J. Trump in the U.S. House of Representatives. When we return, we'll pop back in to keep track of the vote, and we'll talk about some other news in the meantime. How police in Colorado are taking mental health into account, and a whole new way to leave this world. That's next. The impeachment vote against President Trump is proceeding as expected in the U.S. House of Representatives right now. There is one Democratic defection against impeachment. We expect that is Representative Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, who has said that he is going to switch his party to Republican as a result of this. The independent vote for impeachment is Representative Justin Amash of Michigan. He is a libertarian, former Republican. You see them all crowded there into the well of the House because instead of voting by electronic device, they want to vote by paper card. They want the paper record of this impeachment vote. So each of the 400-some members are going down to hand in their paper card with their vote. Denver police tell us that they are seeing success as they pair behavioral health specialists with officers when they respond to 911 calls. They'd like to expand the program if they can find the funding. Here's Anusha Roy.
The entire point of the CoResponder program is to make sure people who need help aren't ending up in jail.
The program has been successful beyond our wildest dreams.
The city's Department of Public Health said last year officers and mental health specialists responded to more than 1,700 calls together in Denver. 69 ended in arrest.
The remainder were referred to detox programs for substance misuse issues or received follow-on care through the Community Mental Health Center of Denver, or were appropriately referred to the hospital.
But today the city talked about reducing their budget for this program by $300,000, saying they had over budgeted, and that even with a smaller amount of money, we'll still make sure there are co-responder teams at all 6 Denver police districts. Which is fine, except everyone we talked to today said they're interested in seeing the program expand, but the money isn't guaranteed.
Denver Police Department has not requested specifically of the Crime Prevention and Control Commission an expansion of its contract with that money. It's not that they're not looking at expansion of programming, they're simply looking at expansion through a different funding vehicle.
As for why they would do that instead of using city dollars, the Department of Public Health punted that question to Public Safety, who then tossed it back to them. And after a few rounds of that, the closest answer we could get was Denver voters approved another source of funding for mental health help at a time when city departments were looking to tighten their budget because the revenue stream coming into the city started to slow down.
So that other source of money is called Caring for Denver, and that's a foundation funded through tax dollars. That foundation said that they are expecting a proposal in the next month, which means none of this is a done deal. They're also very strict about the application process as well. But they said this is on their radar, but can't say one way or the other if Denver police will be getting that money.
The game of telephone you went on suggests the complexity of getting all these different people who bring different funding sources to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a program that Denver Police, Public Safety is taking a look at what the city needs, but when it comes to the actual budget of it, that is under public health. I mean, I still have like whiplash from today trying to figure out who's going to answer which questions on this program.
At least folks are in agreement that they think they're seeing results.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Nusha.
1 week away till Christmas, and it certainly does not look feel wintry out there at all. 57 out at DIA earlier this afternoon. Our average, keep in mind, should be in the lower 40s. Certainly not a record breaker today. High pressure starts to shift just a bit further off to the east, and out to the west we go. More heavy rain as well as snowfall coming in across the Cascades, the coastline through Washington and Oregon. Around here we just have a good deck of high-level clouds sitting across the state. The clouds stick with us overnight. It will be a cool one with temperatures falling to the low 20s here in Denver, across the plains. Few cold spots, Sterling as well as Greeley into the teens, and then single digits going up in the mountains. So once again, another chilly start to our day. Futurecast looking pretty quiet overnight into tomorrow morning. Few high-level clouds start shifting in. We will have a very weak cold front that just brushes the state. That allows us to touch 50 degrees tomorrow, but then we will quickly cool off and watch those clouds kind of just sit overhead. 20s and 30s up in the mountains with 40s and 50s further out to the west, and the numbers only continue to climb as we head toward the weekend. How about 60s both Saturday and Sunday? Right now I am tracking possibly a few flurries on Christmas Day. We're back right after this.
Welcome back to Next, and we welcome our viewers who are joining us on 9 News. Stepping away from NBC News coverage of the impeachment vote, as that's tallied, that could take some time, maybe another 15, 20 minutes. They don't hold those votes right to 15 minutes. If you're watching on 9 News, we'll return you to NBC News coverage of the impeachment vote when that vote is complete and announced. We can take a look at the vote as it stands right now. There are 2 Democratic defections. This was not unexpected. The one independent vote with the Democrats for impeachment is former Republican, now Libertarian Independent Representative Justin Amash of Michigan. So the vote proceeding as expected. Diana DeGetta Denver still in the chair. We'll take you back there on NBC when the vote is complete. So now Republicans, Democrats might think that they don't have a lot in common, but we're all going to die, and then what? So I mean, for thousands of years it's been burial or cremation. Those are your options. In Colorado, those are the options that most people choose. Though now there will be a third, natural organic reduction. News photojournalist Brian Wendland explains.
The process is really simple. It's just like what would happen if you were to die in a forest.
When State Representative Breanna Titone brings up her plan to add a new option for what can be done with our bodies after death, people get interested.
I think that there's a lot of people that have been craving something to have an alternative to what's available.
This alternative is called natural organic reduction.
This is an example of the straw and the wood chips.
The body is surrounded by alfalfa and wood chips and placed in a vessel for about 30 days. What's left is a kind of organic mulch.
Our goal is to help people to grieve in the healthiest and most healing way possible.
Jamie Sarche is the director of pre-planning at Feldman Mortuary. She says when many people make this decision, they're looking for an environmentally friendly option.
Most people think that cremation is environmentally friendly, and I don't know where that came from, because it's not.
There is already an alternative to cremation and traditional burial called green burial,
which is not adding any chemicals to the body, burying the body in a biodegradable container or no container, and the body does become compost then.
But natural organic reduction is a faster process and potentially cheaper.
There's only a couple things that we can always be sure of in life, and that's death. You know, birth and death are the things that everyone shares.
This will be one of the first bills Titone introduces in 2020, and she isn't expecting much opposition.
Humans can do a lot of damage to the environment, and this is one way I think that we can help build it up as we pass on.
For Next, I'm Brian Wendland.
So I thought about the environmental impact of taking up a lot of land with cemeteries, especially in cities. Cannot say that I had ever considered the environmental impact of cremation. You heard the green burial advocates allude to it there, but cremation does use fossil fuels to burn the body, and it does put out greenhouse gases in the process. Next, we'll be right back.